Today's story is about the Church of the Nativity of the God's Mother in the village of Muravanka in the northwest of Belarus. Scientists say that it was built of brick in 1524 on the site of an older wooden church or monastery. Therefore, it was called Muravanka. From the word muravats, it means to mason or to build of stone or brick. In the same year, 1524, the Italian Giovanni da Verrazzano, in the service of King Francis I of France, was looking for a water route to the shores of China and Japan. According to the tradition established by Columbus, he sailed due west across the Atlantic Ocean on his sailing vessel called La Dauphine. In March 1524, Verrazzano became the first European to reach Cape Fear and then sailed along the east coast of North America up to New York Bay. Thus, 500 years ago, the stories of the two places on Earth, located more than 4,300 miles, approximately 7,000 kilometers, apart, began simultaneously, a church, in a small Belarus sun village, and a huge metropolis. 100 years later, Europeans, the Dutch, settled in this bay and founded the city of New Amsterdam here. In 1664, the English took over New Amsterdam and renamed it New York. The painting depicts the Governor Peter Stuyvesant standing on shore among residents of New Amsterdam who are pleading with him not to open fire on the British, who have arrived in warships waiting in the harbor to claim the territory for England. Today, New York is one of the largest cities in the world. Its population is about 8.5 million. In 1964, one of the largest suspension bridges was built. It connects Brooklyn with Staten Island and is named after the Italian explorer, the Verrazzano Narrows Bridge. Well, let's get back to Muravanka. In the early 16th century, these places belonged to the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, ruled by Žygimantas I the Old. In 1529, Žygimantas signed a collection of laws, the Statute of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. It consisted of over 240 articles containing norms of land, criminal, civil, and other sections of law. The statute had been developed for years back by a commission headed by the Chancellor of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, Albrecht Gashtold. Many historians believe that Francisc Scarina, a Belarusian illuminer, humanist, translator, and publisher of the Bible in the Old Belarus Sun language, also took part in the preparation of the statute. Albrecht Gashtold, 1470 to 1539, was one of the most influential politicians and military leaders of his time. In the early 16th century, he took part in several battles against the Crimean Tatars. The Crimean Khanate emerged in Crimea and the northern Black Sea region in the mid-15th century. The Crimean Tatars made regular raids on the lands of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. They plundered and took local residents into slavery. It is no wonder that it was during such turbulent times that the Muravanka Church was built as a defensive structure. Local residents could take refuge in it from light-armed detachments of Tatar horsemen, although it would hardly have been able to withstand a long siege. Defenders could observe approaching enemies from afar from the four round towers located at the edges of the church building. Inside the towers, there are spiral stairs and tiers of fighting galleries. The narrow windows of the temple are high above the ground. They could have been used as loopholes for archers. Below the loopholes, in the towers, there are machicolations. They were intended for vertical shooting at the enemy, with arrows or handheld firearms, throwing stones, and pouring boiling water or resin. Recently, Restorers discovered in Muravanka a shaft for a portcullis, a falling iron grill that made it possible to quickly block the entrance to the building in the event of a sudden attack. Synkavičy, a local landowner who financed the construction of the Muravanka Church, worked for Bona Sforza, the Italian wife of Giovanni I. Bona Sforza philanthropized the Bernardine monks, who were the first to build churches and monasteries of a defensive type, with towers and loopholes. An example of such a temple is the Church of St. Francis of Assisi in Vilna, now Vilnius, built in 1506 to 1516 in the Gothic style. Probably, for the construction of the Muravanka Church, Synkavičy hired one of the Italian masters who by that time had completed the reconstruction of the Bernardine monastery in Vilna. Muravanka was built as an Orthodox church, but its architecture clearly shows features of Gothic, a style characteristic of Catholicism. Historians believe that the incipiency of Gothic in Orthodox church construction in Belarus is the result of the participation of the Orthodox elite of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania in the Council of Florence, 1438 to 1445. The Florentine union between the Catholic and Orthodox churches adopted at this council was not implemented in practice. However, soon, in the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, Orthodox churches were built in the Gothic style, unusual for Orthodoxy, of which Muravanka and the church in Synkavičy have survived to this day. Muravanka is a three-aisled church. The naves are of equal height and are separated from each other by 4 pillars. The church is distinguished by its graceful Gothic ribbed ceilings. The nervure, rib, is a structural thickening of the vault in the most critical place, at the bend or junction of different surfaces. To create a rib vault, special shaped bricks called royal lilies were used. During restorations, a unique Venetian arch made of bricks of an unusual shape was found above the entrance to the temple. In all likelihood, each brick was made in a single copy so that it would fit its place. At the bottom, a strip of the traditional pour reb brick runs through the entire building, a row of bricks laid on the corner. The walls of the building are made in the manner of the Gothic masonry technique, monk bond brick pattern, made of palchatka, hard-burned oversize, striated or cantilevered brick. Palchatka bricks were made by hand. Therefore, their surface can retain traces of grass, rain, human fingers, and footmarks of various animals. This unique monument has survived many wars. The church contains cannonballs that were used to fire at the church building. Still, Muravanka has been preserved. Throughout 500 years, its appearance has not changed much. In the late 19th century, an antechamber was added to the church in order to better save heat inside the building. At the same time, the western towers were made higher, and bells appeared in one of them. This architectural masterpiece of the Gothic Renaissance style, reminiscent of a fairy tale castle fortress, is now included in the UNESCO World Heritage Tentative List.